My campus queen wife and I were reborn together. But I was stressing about how to avoid her because in our last life, we resented each other for half a lifetime. Until the day I died in a car accident, she refused to see me one last time. Before I died, my daughter asked me if I had any last words for her. I shook my head and said to myself, if I could go back to the day after the SATs when we chose our colleges, I would never go to the same university as your mom again. With tears of regret, I closed my eyes. Perhaps fate took pity on me and really let me be reborn on the day after the SATs when we were choosing our colleges. I immediately changed my college choice and went to the university I'd always dreamed of, far away from Chloe. Who knew that on the first day of school, before I even entered the campus gates, a familiar figure pinned me against the wall. Tears welled in her eyes as she looked at me. Aggrieved honey, in our last life, our daughter said you didn't want to go to the same university as me. Was that true? I sat in front of the computer, looking at the college application website on the screen. I checked the date again and shook my head in disbelief. Only after confirming it multiple times did I accept the fact that I had been reborn. I was reborn on the day after the SATs when we were choosing our colleges. Since fate had given me another chance, this time I wouldn't make the same mistakes. I glanced at the messages I had sent Chloe on my phone. My dearest Chloe, which university are you applying to? Reply quickly. I really want to be in the same university as you. I want to be with you every moment. There were over a dozen messages and all I got back were a few words. You're so annoying. Who wants to be in the same university as you? Looking at these messages, I shook my head with a self-deprecating smile, thinking about how we were together for decades in our last life without any happiness. I didn't even know how I managed to pursue her for so long when I was young. They say if a simp successfully woos someone, they're not a simp anymore. They're deeply affectionate. That's pure nonsense. In my last life, Chloe and I were childhood sweethearts. I was a year older than her. You could say I'd liked Chloe since we were little, always hovering around her. I started pursuing her in high school. I chased her until after college graduation before she finally agreed to be with me, but she wasn't willing. My family and Chloe's family were friends for generations. Our grandfathers knew each other and were sworn brothers. Both were business families, but Chloe's parents died in a car accident. Because the family business was left unattended and coveted by outsiders, my parents eventually helped her family stabilize the situation. Before her grandfather passed away, he was worried about the relationship between our two families. So, he had Chloe marry me to ensure the ties between our families wouldn't weaken. But Chloe had a boyfriend at the time, the campus heartthrob. However, her family situation left her no choice but to marry me. My parents asked for my opinion, and since I had liked her since I was little, I naturally agreed wholeheartedly. I knew she had no other relatives in this world. So after we got married, I treated her with all my heart, but she always had an icy expression for me. Apart from daily life, she never said anything else to me. It was as if we were just two roommates living together. Later, as she gradually took over her family's company, we spoke even less. Sometimes she wouldn't come home for a month, and she openly hired her ex-boyfriend, whom she'd been forced to break up with, into her company. We fought countless times over this. She could manage a smile for outsiders, even for people from rival companies. But with me, it was always that icy expression. It's laughable, really. I never even went on a date with her. I still don't know what a movie theater looks like. Holding my loved one's hand while strolling down the street was a luxury I could only dream of. Every time I suggested she take a break and go out with me to relax, telling her I didn't want her to be so tired all the time, she would coldly say, "Ethan, are you childish? You're a grown man still thinking about playing all day. I don't have time to play house with you." Then she would turn around and go to a banquet with her ex-boyfriend. In her eyes, that was just an excuse I made up to go on a date with her. I didn't know what I did wrong. I was managing my own family's company, working myself to the bone, and I still made time to take care of her. I'd wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning to make her breakfast while I just ate her leftovers. Then I'd drive her to her company. She had a sensitive stomach, so for her sake, I had a kitchen installed in my office. I wouldn't take a nap at noon. Instead, I'd prepare a nutritious lunch for her and then drive an hour to deliver it to her company. In the evening, I'd be downstairs at her company on time every day to pick her up from work. To all the employees in both our companies, we were the model couple, a CEO husband and a CEO wife, a match made in heaven. Countless people envied my happy life. At the time, I was actually quite happy hearing these discussions. But in the end, I was just deceiving myself. Was I truly happy? If there was any intimate moment between us in our last life, it was probably when she gave birth to our daughter, ensuring my family line wouldn't end. But in her eyes, that was just a task she completed, a way to repay my parents' kindness. I still remember the day our daughter was born. She handed our daughter to me, her face devoid of any emotion, and said, "I've repaid your family's kindness." Thinking back now, I let out a self-deprecating laugh. Loving her for so long only earned me the words, "I've repaid your family's kindness." Not in this lifetime. A forced relationship isn't sweet, nor does it quench thirst. I composed myself. My mom suddenly came in. She told me, "Ethan, that girl Chloe said she wants to apply to the finance university in New York. Although your scores meet the admission line, you didn't exceed it by much. Isn't that a bit risky?" Previously, I knew Chloe wouldn't tell me easily, so I had my mom subtly ask for me. I shook my head and said, "I'm not going to New York. I'm going to California." My mom looked at me in shock. "What did you say? California? You're not going to the same university as Chloe? Didn't you like her before?" She couldn't finish, and I pushed her out. In our last life, Chloe and I were both admitted to the finance university in New York. But this lifetime I wouldn't go again. Chloe would meet the person there whom she would pine for decades, even after marrying me. And I too would go to the university I missed out on because of Chloe. California, my dad's alma mater, where he also met my mom. My dad often told me that's a school that can bring happiness. I wanted to see for myself because in my last life, I never experienced what happiness felt like, not even until I died. This lifetime I didn't want to live so miserably. I wanted to be happier, more joyful. I quickly typed the school's name on the computer and then without hesitation, clicked confirm. My scores far exceeded this university's requirements and it was my first choice, so I didn't have to worry about not being admitted. Watching the system process the application, all I had to do was wait quietly for the results. I felt incredibly relieved. This lifetime I wouldn't have any connection with Chloe anymore. Goodbye, Chloe. No hard feelings. In the evening after dinner, I was lying in bed looking at flight tickets when someone knocked on the door. I thought it was my mom, but when I opened the door, it was Chloe. Chloe's parents passed away early and her grandfather was busy managing her family's company, so she spent most of her time at my house. I looked at her puzzled. "Why are you here?" For over a decade, she had never knocked on my bedroom door. Chloe hesitated, frowning at me. And after a long while, she said, "Why are you going to California?" Seeing the 19-year-old Chloe again, I just squinted my eyes. Although she was very beautiful with countless admirers both in school and in society, it's no exaggeration to say that any man would turn his head for a second look at Chloe. But now looking at her, my heart seemed unmoved. My car accident in the last life happened on my way to find Chloe. That day, she said she had a business banquet and would be back very late, but she wasn't back by midnight. I called her. She didn't answer. She didn't reply to my messages either. Worried something had happened to her, I rushed out. At that time, I had a severe cold. My whole body was weak and I had a fever. But I still dragged my weak body out to look for her. And then I died on the way to find her. When I was taken to the hospital, only my daughter was by my side. My daughter called her countless times, but she still didn't answer. Finally, when I was on the verge of death, my daughter, worried I wouldn't die in peace, told me that Chloe had gone to the banquet with her ex-boyfriend. At that moment, the breath I was holding on to instantly vanished. The conviction that had supported my desire to see Chloe one last time before I died also crumbled. Thinking of this, an inexplicable pain shot through my heart. Looking at Chloe again, my gaze turned icy. "Where I go is none of your business. Didn't you not want me to apply to the same university as you? I'm granting your wish. From now on, I won't bother you anymore, and I hope you won't appear in my sight either." She looked utterly shocked. Just as she was about to speak, I didn't give her the chance and slammed the door shut with a bang. I took a couple of deep breaths to calm myself. No longer wanting to think about these messy things. In the middle of the night, I was sleeping soundly when my dad woke me up and dragged me to the living room. Chloe was sitting on the sofa, sobbing quietly. My dad, with a dark face, questioned me, "What are you going to California for?" "What about Chloe then? Let her go to university in New York alone. Go change your application right now and go to university in New York with Chloe. Don't you like her? Can you bear to let her be alone in a strange city?" Looking at Chloe's tear-reddened eyes, if it were my past life, my heart would have ached terribly. As long as I could make her happy, I would have willingly cut off a piece of my own flesh to make soup for her. But now, I felt no pity for her in my heart. I just spoke a little louder to her earlier, and she couldn't take it. You know, in our last life, the tone she used with me was much harsher than mine just now. Thinking of this, my anger flared up. I started arguing directly with my dad. My mom heard the commotion and hurried into the living room, but she sided with my dad, criticizing me along with him. My mom pulled my dad behind her, shielding him, saying I shouldn't talk back to my dad. Even when arguing with me, her son, my mom always protected my dad. Although I was being scolded, I felt more disappointment. In my last life, whenever I had conflicts with others, Chloe never spoke up for me and sometimes even sided with them against me. How I wished then that Chloe would stand by my side, even if it was just to glare at the other person for me. But she never did. It seems my last life was quite a failure. Even my lover didn't stand with me. No, that was just my wishful thinking. In Chloe's eyes, when had she ever considered me her lover? My eyes were frighteningly red and I burst into tears. It seemed I had always been alone. Mom and Dad saw something was wrong with me and came over to show their concern. "Son, what's wrong with you? Don't scare Mom." "What happened? Tell Mom." I shook my head, just feeling a bit dizzy. Chloe saw I was unsteady and also stood up wanting to help me. I pushed her hand away. Seeing her icy face, I was filled with disgust. Then I looked at my parents, my tone incredibly firm. "Dad, Mom, this lifetime, even if I die, I will not go to university in New York. I'm set on California. And don't try to matchmake Chloe and me anymore. The person she likes has never been me, and I don't want to like her anymore. From now on, I don't want to see her either." When Chloe heard my words, an expression of utter shock appeared on her face, her eyes wide as she stared at me. She probably never expected that after I'd pined for her for over a decade, I would suddenly stop one day. Whoever wants to simp, let them. I'm not serving anymore. I snorted coldly, turned around, went back to my room, grabbed my suitcase, and left that very night. Behind me, I heard my dad scolding. "Rebellious son." And Chloe's crying. I sneered inwardly, crying. What's there to cry about? Didn't she always hate me? Didn't she always find me annoying? I'm satisfying her. I'm leaving on my own accord. Isn't that good? I hailed a cab and went to the train station because there were no flights at night. I'd rather take the train today than see Chloe again. There were no sleeper berths, so I bought a hard seat. I have to say, a dozen or so hours on a hard seat is still very uncomfortable. But compared to the decades of discomfort in my last life, these dozen or so hours were nothing. After arriving, I rented a room near the university. After a simple tidying up, I went to check out the school. Breathing in the university air, I felt my whole being refreshed. The first day without Chloe already made my mood much better. Life from now on would only get better and better. For these few days, apart from sleeping and eating, I was familiarizing myself with the school. During this time, I also met a senior. The senior found out I had come to familiarize myself with the university even before the admission results were out and admired my confidence. Actually, even if I hadn't been admitted, I would have stayed in California because all my college choices were for universities here. Even if I had to go to a community college, I wouldn't listen to my dad and go to New York. The senior was very enthusiastic, often taking me out, treating me to meals, and taking me shopping. Because I couldn't get used to the new environment, I caught a cold, and she even specially brought me cold medicine. The landlady, knowing I was far from home, often brought me food. In just a short month, I felt the warmth of California. This made me feel even more strongly that my choice this lifetime was very correct. Soon, the admission notices were out. Undoubtedly, I was admitted. I happily invited the senior out for a meal. I rode my newly bought electric scooter to the school gate to pick up the senior. The senior brought me a cup of milk tea, chatted with me for a while, and then I was ready to take her to eat. Suddenly, the senior smiled at me. "Do you have a girlfriend?" I was stunned, then shook my head. No, I've been single since birth. The senior pointed across the road. There, she's here. I followed the direction the senior pointed. That young lady has been standing there looking at you for a long time. From the look in her eyes, it seems she knows you. Seeing who it was, my face instantly darkened because it was Chloe. What are you doing here? My tone wasn't good. Chloe glanced at the senior, then said to me with a somewhat complicated expression. I came to see you. I was worried you wouldn't be used to the new environment, so I brought you some dishes from home. After speaking, she handed me the insulated lunchbox in her hand. I was stunned at first, then couldn't help but sneer. See me? How utterly ridiculous. Could her sub-zero mouth actually utter words of concern for me? The senior crossed her arms and said to me, still say she's not your girlfriend. She came all this way to see you. I shook my head. She's really not my girlfriend, just a casual friend I grew up with. Upon hearing this, Chloe froze and the lunchbox in her hand fell to the ground. I didn't pay her any mind and said to the senior, let's go. Let's get something to eat. Just as I was about to leave with the senior, Chloe suddenly grabbed my hand and pulled me in another direction. I said angrily, what are you doing? I flung her hand away. She fell to the ground, scraping her knee, which started to bleed. She hissed and from her expression, it was clear it hurt, but she didn't say anything, got up and grabbed me again. I don't know where she got the strength, but she managed to drag me under a tree. I shook her off again, saying impatiently, Chloe, that's enough. Didn't I make myself clear last time? I won't pester you anymore. You can go to university in New York with peace of mind. Why are you still looking for me? Chloe looked at me with red eyes, tears streaming down her cheeks. Ethan, you weren't like this in our last life. Why are you treating me like this in this life? I stood there stunned. She was reborn, too. Connecting this with her previous behavior, I should have realized it sooner. But since she's back, too, let's make things clear. Chloe, in our last life, neither of us was happy. You only married me because of your grandfather's last wish. This lifetime, that's not necessary. With your memories from the last life, you're perfectly capable of stabilizing your family's company. And you don't need my family's help anymore. You can go to university in New York with peace of mind and rekindle your relationship with that unforgettable ex-boyfriend of yours. Let's just stop torturing each other. After speaking, I didn't wait for her reply and left. I took the senior to eat. At the dinner table, the senior saw I wasn't in a good mood and asked me about Chloe and me. Having had no one to confide in for 2 lifetimes, I told her about my relationship with Chloe in this life. After listening, the senior just smiled and said, have you ever thought that she doesn't dislike you? She's just a bit slow to warm up. After all, her parents passed away. She lacks affection. I shook my head with a bitter smile. How could that be? Senior, please don't joke. Lacks affection? Didn't I love her enough? I would have torn out my heart for her. If she still lacked love, then what is love? The ill-fated relationship from the last life. This lifetime I will not repeat the same mistakes. Soon it was the day school started. I had my mom mail me my admission notice. Unexpectedly, my mom sent me 2. One of them was Chloe's. She actually applied to the same university as me, giving up on going to New York University. For a moment, I felt a bit dizzy. Why, when she clearly never loved me, would she come to disgust me like this in this lifetime? A knock on the door. I knew Chloe had arrived. With my parents' means, they could easily track my whereabouts. After opening the door, Chloe stood at the entrance with a backpack. I looked at her with a sneer. In our last life, I gave my life for you. Even if you never loved me, there's no need to disgust me like this. Is there? Chloe looked at me, tears welling in her eyes. Ethan, can you give me a chance to explain? No, I refused decisively. Chloe, in our last life, I liked you very much and I loved you very much, but that was all in the past. From the day I went to find you and died in that car crash, my love for you was also crushed. This lifetime, whether you feel guilty towards me or something else, I don't care anymore. I just beg you, disappear from my world, okay? Chloe's eyes were red from crying and she directly came forward and hugged me. No, I don't want to leave you. Her tears soaked my clothes, looking at her, crying incessantly. It's impossible to say I felt nothing. After all, I loved her for decades. If she had shown even a sliver of response in our last life, I would have loved her for another lifetime in this one, even if it meant repeating the same mistakes. Unfortunately, a heart that's been thoroughly broken is hard to mend. I pushed her away and said, "You can live in this house. I'll rent another one." After saying that, I walked out. Chloe cried out to me, "Ethan, I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. This lifetime, I won't be foolish again." I sighed deeply. What's the point of all this now? Because I didn't want to be too far from school, I found another place nearby. But this was also not far from Chloe. Unsurprisingly, not even a day after I moved into the new place, Chloe found out again. I don't know where she got the key, but when I woke up, she had already made breakfast for me. I wanted to call my parents and give them a piece of my mind. If they knew that even in my last life, I died for Chloe, would they regret their current actions? Did they have to push me to the brink to make the tragedy happen to me again? Chloe saw me get up and said with a smile, "Ethan, I made you buns. Eat them quickly." I glanced at them, threw the buns directly into the trash can, and then took a piece of bread from the refrigerator to eat. She didn't get angry, just picked the buns out of the trash, wiped off the dust, and then started eating them herself. Anger surged within me, and I slapped the bun out of her hand. "Are you crazy? It's so dirty. Why are you still eating it?" I had hit her a bit hard just now. Chloe rubbed her slightly swollen hand, but her face still wore a smile. "It's okay if it's dirty. It's edible. I'm not that delicate." The smile she had for others in her past life, I was experiencing it for the first time. But this smile made me feel disgusted. Was this charity or did she have ulterior motives? What did she want from me? What did I have that she could possibly want? Today was the day to report to school. I didn't want to argue with her about anything, so I picked up my admission notice and left. Arriving at the school, I found my advisor to register. Not long after, Chloe also arrived. And she was in the same department as me, even the same class. Did she have to be so relentlessly haunting? At the first class meeting, the advisor had all the students introduce themselves one by one on stage. I gave a casual introduction. When it was Chloe's turn, she held the microphone, her gaze fixed on me. I instantly got goosebumps, a bad premonition. Chloe suddenly spoke. "Actually, at first I wanted to go to New York University, but I still chose to come to this school because my beloved said in his last life that his biggest regret was not coming to California for university. So this lifetime, I gave up going to New York University and came here to find him. In our last life, I unknowingly did many things that hurt him, but that wasn't my intention. He always thought I didn't love him, but my heart has only ever had him. So this lifetime, let me make it up to you properly. Okay, Ethan." Because I was the last one to finish my self-introduction, everyone still remembered my name. They all looked at me, their faces filled with envy. In their eyes, a stunningly beautiful girl in pursuit of me actually gave up going to New York University to come here. Although Chloe was telling the truth, everyone thought she was just trying to be more romantic and had come up with a story. Facing everyone's gazes, my face turned ashen. I couldn't take it anymore. Under everyone's expectant gazes, I stood up and left directly. Before leaving, I even said, "Are you sick?" After speaking, I glared fiercely at Chloe. To avoid Chloe, I even stopped going to the rented apartment and started living in the dormitory. But soon, I became famous at school, making headlines on the campus news. There were two pieces of news. The first was that Chloe was voted the top among the 10 most beautiful freshman girls. With her looks, being ranked first was no exaggeration. The second piece of news was that an ordinary, unremarkable college student rejected the confession of this year's top freshman beauty. That ordinary, unremarkable college student was me. There was also a video of me scolding Chloe, calling her sick. Instantly, I became the topic of every student's after-meal conversation. No one knew why I would reject such a beautiful girl. And she was so romantic, preparing such a well-crafted confession. Everyone thought I was a unicorn, otherwise who could refuse? Every time I heard someone discussing this, I sighed, couldn't explain. Originally, the trip to California had made me feel refreshed and much better. But since Chloe's arrival, those peaceful days were gone. I had thought Chloe's feelings for me were mostly guilt, which was why she was pestering me. But since the arrival of her ex-boyfriend, Alex, I realized I had overthought things. On Friday afternoon after class, I was preparing to go home. When I reached the school gate, I saw Alex and Chloe talking and laughing very affectionately. Alex even reached out to smooth Chloe's hair. They didn't look like they had just met. Rather, they seemed like a couple who had been together for a long time. Chloe happened to see me, too, and looked extremely flustered. I sneered. It's been less than a month since school started and you've already found him. Chloe, don't you think you're hypocritical and disgusting? Confessing to me in front of the whole class on one hand and then immediately contacting Alex whom she supposedly didn't know yet on the other. Chloe quickly came over and grabbed my hand, explaining, Ethan, listen to me. Enough. I forcefully pushed her away, nearly making her fall. Luckily, Alex caught her from behind. Then he looked at me, a smile on his face, and extended his hand. You must be the Ethan Chloe often mentions to me, right? Nice to meet you. I looked coldly at this former love rival, not wanting to shake his hand. No need to meet and no need to know. After speaking, I walked past them towards the opposite side of the road. Ethan, can't you ever just listen to me finish? Chloe's voice came from behind. By this time, I had already crossed to the other side of the road. Around the corner, I saw a black car approaching in the distance. It showed no signs of slowing down, and I had no time to dodge. I instantly felt my heart race. Just then, I felt a push from behind. I was pushed away, falling into the flower bed in front. The black car sped past. My leg was bleeding from the fall, but I couldn't bother with the pain. I quickly turned around and looked at Chloe. The next moment, I froze, my body trembling. Chloe lay in a pool of blood covered in it. Her white dress stained red. I rushed over wanting to help her up, but dared not because I didn't know if moving her now would cause secondary injuries. Alex was frantic, quickly calling 911, telling me to stay there while he chased the hit-and-run car. Chloe saw me kneeling beside her. She raised her bloodied arm, grabbed my hand, and said very weakly, Ethan, this time it's my turn to die for you. Can you forgive me now? I didn't speak. My eyes just turned red. Chloe continued, Ethan, actually, I don't have an ex-boyfriend. All along, you've misunderstood Alex. He's my half-brother. My body jolted again. You fool, being jealous of my brother. Didn't you know my stepmother's last name is Sue? Alex is my stepmother's child. Chloe, her face covered in blood, smiled at me. In our last life, do you know why I was always so cold to you? You thought I didn't love you. You were wrong. Chloe, whether in the last life or this life, has only ever loved you. My mother died when she gave birth to me. My father remarried. Then when I was 5, my father and stepmother took me out to play and they both died in a car accident. Later, my grandfather also died of late-age cancer. A fortune teller said I was a jinx, cursed to bring misfortune to my loved ones. After my parents and grandfather died, you were the only person I loved. I was scared, Ethan. I was scared that one day you would be gone, too. So, I didn't dare to show how much I loved you. I was terrified that fate would take you away from me someday. Every time I saw you secretly crying for me, Chloe's heart ached so much. Chloe wanted to hug you, to tell you loudly, Chloe loves you, but Chloe didn't dare. Chloe didn't want you to be in danger. I wanted you to be well. It wasn't until I heard the news of your death in our last life that my whole world turned black. Our daughter wouldn't even give me your ashes. Did you know I lived in daze for 3 years and finally I couldn't hold on anymore? I missed you. I really missed you. I took a bottle of sleeping pills and came to find you. I didn't expect to be reborn. But this lifetime I'm still afraid. But when you said that night that you didn't want to like me anymore, I knew you were back too. But I was worried my bad luck would harm you. So, I never dared to tell you. But now, Chloe isn't afraid anymore. Chloe is dying. Before I die, I must tell you, Ethan, Chloe loves you. Chloe really, really loves you. Chloe gently touched my face and then her hand fell. No, Chloe, don't sleep. I forbid you to sleep. I roared. My voice. Doctor, where's the doctor? As I roared, the ambulance arrived. After arriving at the hospital, Chloe was taken into the emergency room. I waited outside the door extremely anxious, even slapping myself a few times. If Chloe really didn't make it, what would I do this lifetime? Chloe. Oh, Chloe, you absolutely cannot have anything happen to you. I would rather not know that you've always loved me. As long as you're okay. Soon, my parents bought the fastest plane tickets and rushed over. As soon as they arrived at the hospital, my dad slapped me hard. "You rebellious son. If anything happens to Chloe, just you watch how I deal with you." I was covered in Chloe's blood. Looking towards the operating room, I laughed. "I've already died once. I'm not afraid to die again. If Chloe goes, I'll go with her." My mom was frightened by my words. She quickly grabbed me. "Son, Chloe will be fine. You mustn't do anything foolish." Half an hour later, the operating room door opened and a nurse came out and called, "The patient is bleeding heavily and needs a blood transfusion. She's O-type." "Who among you is O-type?" I panicked instantly because no one present was. Suddenly, Alex ran up from the hospital corridor shouting, "I am?" In the end, Alex went in to give Chloe blood. Chloe was out of danger. When Alex came out, his face was pale because he had just chased the hit-and-run car. He was exhausted and now he had given several large tubes of blood. He looked like a deflated balloon. I quickly went over to support the unsteady Alex. My face full of guilt. "I'm sorry." Alex shook his head and forced a smile at me. "Don't treat me as a love rival anymore. Okay. I'm your big brother-in-law." Chloe hadn't woken up since her surgery. For 3 consecutive days, I stayed by her bedside. I didn't eat or drink. Not leaving her for a moment. Looking at her on the hospital bed, like a sleeping beauty, I kept praying in my heart. Even if I could only live to be 50 in this lifetime, as long as it could bring Chloe back to consciousness. Thinking about it, I fell asleep. In my sleep, I felt someone touching my face. I jolted and woke up instantly. Looking up, Chloe was looking at me, still touching my face with her hand. I was incredibly excited. "Chloe, you're awake." Chloe's voice was very soft. "I've been awake for a while, just been touching you." I quickly placed Chloe's hand back on my face. Touch all you want, as much as you want." Chloe smiled, a beautiful smile. From then on, I had a little girlfriend, Chloe, who loved to smile at me. For years later, at the graduation ceremony, I was looking everywhere for Chloe, but I couldn't find her. I was frantic. Today was a big day. I was going to propose to her. Just then, a figure in a wedding dress slowly walked towards me, looking at me with deep affection. "Ethan, marry me quickly." The next moment, I took out a wedding ring from my pocket and knelt on one knee. "My lovely Princess Chloe, will you marry me?" Chloe smiled knowingly and shouted, "Yes, Chloe is willing to marry Ethan,